This is Quentin Pooler. Here is my final project for GAM218. For this project, we are supposed to incorporate aspects from all four of the previous weeks. So I will show some blueprints from the four previous weeks, but not go into as much detail because they're mostly the same blueprints as there was earlier. I'll just cover what aspects from each week are being used. And there's a few that aren't in here. I just tried to make it so there was 2 or 3 from each week. So starting off here, we have week 1, where the blueprint on screen right now is the one that sets up a door that can lock. You can see that it starts off with the door being locked, goes into the branch, and if you have done the prerequisite for the door unlocking, then it will switch to being unlocked and play an animation of the door moving. The other one for week 1 is the control panel, which has the same stuff that was in the prior week, which I used it when the game starts. There's no text showing when the player walks into the collision box or trigger for it. It will display text prompting the player to push a button. When the button is pushed, it changes the text letting the player know something happened, and then in this case, in the purple box, it will unlock a door. Then for week 2, I have this blueprint, which starts off with all the lights off in a certain room. When the player goes into the trigger for it, it goes through an array of lights and sets them all to a new intensity. And after it has done all of that, it will play a sound one time to let the player know that the lights have been turned on, besides just the visual aspect. Another thing from week 2 is the blueprint here, which goes through an array of blocks and sets the physics to active on all of them, so they'll collapse once the player goes through that trigger. And then at the end of that, it will, after it's applied physics to all of the objects, it will play a sound. Then there's also the puzzle. I'll zoom in here to make it easier to see. First, this is another week 2 blueprint, which will check to make sure all of aspect of a certain puzzle, in this case having blocks in the right place, it checks to make sure they are. If all 3 are correct, then it will unlock the door, change the main light to green, and play a scene, in this case moving a camera to show where the door is unlocked. And then after that, it will return control of the player to the main mannequin they're moving around, instead of the one they used to solve the puzzle in a separate room. For week 3, there is the door timeline, which is, it will start with the door being closed. When the player goes in and it has been unlocked, it will first play the door opening, and then once the player leaves that trigger, it will close the door through that red commented area. Also from week 3, there is the having a camera that is rendering a texture onto the wall, which shows into the other room, trying to lead the player into going to possess the other pawn in that room. In week 3, we also learned how to use sequences and flip-flops and gates. So I'll show briefly that there's this blueprint, which when the player is in the trigger, it waits for input. When the player pushes the right key, it will do a sequence, which first goes into a flip-flop that will change the light color, and then the next time they push the button, it changes it again. Then the sequence will go through and switch which mannequin the player is controlling. The gate here, if the puzzle has been solved, the player, when they enter the gate, it will play a timeline that shows the stairs moving out and unlock a door. But if they have not solved the puzzle yet, entering the trigger for that will do nothing. That's what the gate is for, and that was the last of the week 3 blueprints. Then in week 4, we have doing things with the player making noise and being able to respawn in this orange box. That will set the current position and then change when each time the player goes through a checkpoint. That will set that to the new respawn point if they die. When the player jumps or walks, it makes sound that isn't actually audible to the player, but the AI will hear it and detect the player if they're in range. Then there's also the whistle feature, where upon pushing a key it plays a sound that is audible to the player and the AI and will attract their attention. And then this huge amount, which is the AI setting up where it is and where its destination is, then determining where it moves using a random point in a sphere and making that the new destination. What the AI does when it sees the player, it will play a sound and will try to move towards where the player is at. If it hears the player, it will walk at a different speed, play a sound, and go towards where the player is at. Then also, if the AI goes into a trap, in this case a fire trap, it will go through and get damaged. And when it reaches 0 health left, it will unlock a door. It also has a box in front where if it collides with the player, it will kill the player and send them back to the most recent checkpoint. The last blueprint that these again are for week 4. The last one is the fire trap blueprint, which shows that when player and AI enter it, they get added to a list, and then everything that is inside that list gets damage applied for it for the amount of time it's in there. And once the player or the AI moves from that, it will stop applying damage. Then that's all the blueprints, so I'm going to go through and show the level. It's fairly similar to what I've done before because I combined all of the things we've learned into one level. It's mostly similar to the week 3, but adding the week 4 elements of the AI on to the end. So I will go and play that and try to make it quick because this video is already pretty long. So again, starting off here, lights turn on. You can see that these blocks here fell when the player went across. Here's the control panel that you have to push E to unlock the door to get to the next room. Going into the next room triggers these flickering lights. And there's a door here that is locked. You can't go through until you've solved the puzzle in this other room that the camera points into. So pressing P switches to the other mannequin inside, where you have to solve the puzzle of pushing the blocks into the correct locations. And once the last block is in place, it will switch to a new scene that shows that the door is unlocked. If I can actually push that block in there. Okay, there we go. Camera showing that it unlocks this door. And we're now back to being outside again. We can go through here. The gate is not visible, but it makes it so that nothing happens when we go through here that leads out to the next area until we solve this puzzle. those two blocks match now. That was the puzzle. Once we go through the gate again this time, the stairs will start to come out. And now we can go up and out through here, where is the new area that has the guards in it. Initially I had this text, it was easier to read, sorry about that. I didn't realize that when I changed the lighting it now made it really hard to read that. It says avoid the guards. If they touch you, you get caught. Press Q to whistle, luring them away. So there's a guard here that patrols around a certain amount of points. It'll just keep going around the square, and we can just sneak past it here. Then in this room, there is another AI that goes around to random points, and you can see it says defeat the pink guard to unlock the door. To defeat that, we go into here, press E to start the fire trap, and now we can whistle to get the guard's attention. For some reason the particles don't always play, and we have to kind of lure the guard through the fire multiple times until it's taken enough damage that it dies. As you can see here, I keep getting spotted, and when it hits me it goes into back to the checkpoint. Eventually here we'll have damaged that enough so that we can proceed. Okay, now it's been damaged enough it disappeared. So now we should be able to go through here. Yep, we go through here and ta-da! You won. We reached the end of the level, and that's my final project for this class.